So the next stitch that I'm going to show you is a woven stitch, which you can see here and here on these leaves, as well as little accent areas in several of the petals. This is a great stitch for irregular shapes like a leaf, and it's a really fun addition to a petal where you aren't expecting the stitch to vary. So I liked adding it there. For these leaves, I used a size 5 pearl cotton, and I will show you how to do the woven stitch. So I'm going to stitch this petal, and I like to start by going lengthwise throughout the shape that I'm going to stitch. So I'm going right down the middle of this. Well, it's not exactly down the middle, but I'm going to add a few rows, just outlining the shape of this leaf. And these are my foundation rows, and they are what I'm going to be using for weaving once I get the stitch going. So you determine how you want your stitch to look. I could place these closer together. That would look fine too. I could place them further apart, which for a shape this small might not look the greatest. So I'm just adding a few stitches here, and then we're going to go the opposite direction, and that's when we're really going to get the stitch looking like a leaf. Okay, so I've done that. It might seem like I'm using extra thread by starting in the middle and then doing each side. I just find that it helps me get my lines straight and organized by kind of dividing it up like that. But you do it how it works best for you. I like to do mine this way. And I'm adding 2 more lines here. Okay, so I have the foundation stitches done. I'm going to thread my needle with some more thread, and then we're going to do the rows that go across the leaf. So just like before, when I started in the middle, I'm also going to start in the middle of this leaf with my next rows. So I'm bringing my needle up, and now from this point on until I get to the other side, all of my stitches are going to be on top of the fabric. So my needle is up here. I'm going to go over, under, over, under, over, under, over with my needle and thread. So let's take it slow. So we're going over the first stitch, under, over, under, over, under. Okay, and then pulling my needle through. And this is where you can adjust your thread if you want it down that way, if you want it this way. I'm going to put mine right about there. And then take your needle and thread down through the fabric, and there's your first row. Now your second row, I'll start back over here just so you can see how it's different. I'm going to do the opposite of what I just did. So this first one I went over, so now I'm going to go under this thread, over this one, under this one, over, under, over, and under. You can see how it's the opposite of what I just did. Pull my thread through, make any adjustments. You can push it around with the needle until you're happy with it. Then I'm going to take my threaded needle through again. And this is how you're going to do this stitch. You're just going to keep working this. When I get to this row, because I'm bringing my needle up here, and I'm not going to go, I don't have anything to go under because I'm at the end of this stitch. It's a short one. I'm still just going to do the opposite of what I previously did. So I'm starting with this one, and I'm going under and over and under. So even if you lose track, you just look back to what you last did, and you should be able to quickly figure out where you are in the weaving process. It's a really simple stitch, but you get a lot of textured effect when you're done it. So now this one, see how this section comes up really close to where I already had stitched some of my flower petal. So when I bring my needle up, I just have to make sure that I'm not going through those threads, and then I'm actually coming up on the leaf where I do want my needle and thread to be. And I'm going to bring it through and do exactly what I was doing previously. And that is your woven stitch.